Okay, game on!
They score! Paid that man his money!
What a game we got going. Lucic mashes Jones. Crimea River.
He scores! I'm a lead farmer!
Oh, Thomas lost Kovalchuk! Ah, you better pay him in rubles. That was an unbelievable save off the Russian.
And this series is going back to where Jimmy Hoffa is!
It's time for the Gillette Wild Report with Coach Tom Winkler.
He scores! Ball! The meatloaf!
And the Tuesday morning quarterbacks on News Talk 1270 KIML.
He scores! Summertime is coming to Philadelphia!
Well, now I'm really going to have to put one of these together.
Well, hey, it's Tuesday morning quarterbacks and it's Monday, so
Yeah.
in the words of Harry Doyle, nobody's listening anyway, right?
Well, I mean, I guess we could have a bottle of Jack Daniels here.
I have a flask with that.
But now, I mean,
It's Crown. Does Crown work?
I would have had to put another one together in about a month anyway. But that's you're forcing my hand early.
Yeah.
Well, Coach Tom Winkler joining us for the last time. This is it even has bittersweet music at the end here. I never even got to this part of the bed. I always turn it down. Chad used to get so mad too, because I would always turn the bed down because I guess he wanted a music bed while we talked. But I always turn it down.
That's weird.
Well,
Why do you want a music bed?
I don't know. I get well,
Keep the music up, DC.
Well, you know, it's like a music station. You have or one of those rock station morning shows where it just has Nickelback playing in the background while you're talking.
The worst band ever.
See, I disagree. I don't mind them.
Ugh.
I don't mind them. It's funny because they seem to be one of those bands that everybody loves or everybody hates. There's no in between.
Yeah, and I like maybe two of their songs. I'll give them that.
I don't know why people hate them, but I never was a fan. I think maybe the reason that you don't hate them so much is because they're Canadian, and since you work with a lot of Canadian people, and
Maybe I feel sorry for them.
well,
Maybe that's what it
could be. It could be.
To me, it goes boy bands and then Nickelback. That's the top of my hate
maybe
list.
they were all ex-goalies.
Maybe so.
It could be. Speaking of bands with Canadian, I don't know if Slapshot was a Canadian band, but there was a good hardcore band named Slapshot. And everything was hockey references. I mean, they
might have been Canadian.
And they might have, or either Canadian or from Boston. I can't remember. They actually might be from Boston. It was many years ago. They never got anywhere, but I just remembered that. Okay, so Coach Winkler, well, it's been an eventful week for you, hasn't it?
Yes, it's been. I guess there's numerous adjectives to describe it. It's been frantic. It's been difficult. It's been humbling to say the least. It's I don't know. I mean, you kind of go through emotional stages with everything, and we had an opportunity that came up, and to head down to Decatur, Alabama, with the Point Mallard franchise, which is a branch of TPH Hockey and Incorporated, and it was the decisions are so difficult, and we were extremely vested here, and we love this community, and it was just, nothing was ever easy about it or quick about the decision, and at the end of the day, it's one of those things that I think when we sat down and looked at all the pieces, it fit together, and it was a good fit for the Winkler family, and as you get older, sometimes factors come into play in decision-making process that you didn't have to deal with in the past, and one of the issues happens to be our parents are getting up there in age, and health is becoming an issue, and that was a portion of it, and and then you have to look at everything all the way around. And again, it was not easy. It was, when it came down to it, it was a good offer for the family and for career. And, again, it really is. It's heavy. It's a heavy decision. It's a hard decision. And, it was one of those that you don't take lightly. And, it's tough. And once the decision went public, I mean, the support and, the kind words and all those things that we've been receiving is it weighs on you. And, obviously it's, again, it's the right thing for us to do at this point in time. And obviously it's also very, very difficult to go, because I've said many times, and I'll say it many more times before we leave here at the end of June, that, this is an unbelievable community. We were very fortunate to be here. The way they embrace this hockey team and the community and the support that we got as a family and as a program. And, it's incredibly, incredibly humbling, and it was an honor to be a part of it.
Well, and of course, Point Mallard is in the same league. I mean, obviously, it's a different division, so they're probably, unless the Wild get to a national championship, you probably would never get a chance to play the Wild again. But like you mentioned, this is a decision that was made more on a personal level than a hockey level, I'd imagine. Yes and no to some degree. I mean, there's opportunities within the structure of this TPH, program that they have, and again, everything has been so positive that I'm already. University of Alabama Huntsville is down there, and it's a Division I program, and the guys that are the core group of owners at TPH are all Alabama Huntsville alumni, so there's opportunities to get involved with their Division I program, and even potential of trying to help some of our guys down the road, and so there's so many things that are going to be intertwined and opportunity wise that that are things that I'll be able to take advantage of with that as well. But there is potential to play in showcases and postseason play and things of that nature. So we'll see in time. I honestly don't know if I'd be ready for that matchup right away. Just and again, it's showcases and things like that. I think it would be too much of a sideshow, and when you're at a showcase, those events are about the kids and the players, and that's where the focus needs to be, not on a coach and his ex program or anything like that. So I'm sure in due time we will, and obviously it'd be great to come back here and play someday. And again, this is, like I've said before, this is our home. I mean, we're very fortunate to have our son here, and we've always made a promise, like we did with Hannah when she was born in Bozeman, that at some point she's going to go back and see where she was born and where she lived, and we've done the same with Jack. And this hockey business is crazy, and you never know. I mean, like I said, Dwayne and the guys here have been incredibly supportive, and they understand, and our relationship is going to stay strong and move forward as well too. Well, and I will say you're moving to a little bit warmer climate, which is not necessarily a bad thing.
And now Vic's not here, so since he's not here, I'll just play Vic for a second.
Okay.
I'm Vic Wright, and now you're going to Decatur, Alabama. Did you know that Meow Mix is there?
Oh.
Are you going to go visit Meow Mix down in Decatur, Alabama?
He is a beauty, isn't he? We pull up, and he's standing out in the parking lot, and he starts singing the Meow Mix song.
No, he
meow,
did.
meow, meow,
and I'm
meow.
like,
oh, no, he didn't.
What are you talking about? I mean,
well, didn't you research the town before you move in there, or what?
Well, I did, but I looked at important things like schools and where the ice rink is, and
well, your cats will never starve.
Exactly.
I don't do cats.
Hey, I enjoy some Meow Mix on occasion. Throw some salt in there.
I'm not a cat guy. That's okay.
Well, see,
okay. So I guess I'll answer that like I do most of Vic's questions. Okay, Vic.
Not supporting local. See, some sports talk host in Decatur, Alabama, is going to hear this now.
Yeah.
He doesn't support local industry. He doesn't have a cat.
Oh,
I'll
boy.
go buy a bag of cat food and donate it to the shelter down there. I don't know.
That's
I guess
all.
that solves that problem.
Oh,
Well,
man.
I mean, I was just thinking it's not even 2 hours from Nashville. I mean, it's
about an hour and 20 from Nashville. It's about 6.5 from St. Louis, about 3 from Atlanta, and then you're fairly close to Florida and Pensacola and places like that.
and I'll tell you, once I don't know if you've ever done the drive up through Interstate 24 and all that. From if you're going to St. Louis from Decatur, once you go up through Nashville. Stop in Metropolis, Illinois. This is another Vic level observation. Stop in Metropolis, Illinois. Once you on the way back to Nashville, they have a Superman statue. They have a nice casino. There's a Harris
I drive
casino.
24 all the time. I go down to a senior tournament in Nashville every summer, and
Yeah, you never stopped in Metropolis.
No, I don't even
right across the river from Paducah, Kentucky.
Really.
Yeah,
Yeah, go take some gambling money with you.
It is a nice little
I'm sure I've driven by it then.
I won quite a bit of money the last time I was in Metropolis.
Did you?
Oh yeah, they were offering me free rooms and everything, trying to get me to stay. Like, I got to get out of here.
They needed to get that population up to get those tax breaks.
Exactly.
Lure them in.
Okay, so now obviously, I mean, tell us a little bit about the team. I mean, you mentioned that they're that they're part of a larger organization and they do a little bit of work with UAH. But I mean, how did they do last year? I mean, is this a team that you're going to have to rebuild from scratch, or?
They were a young team last year. They were new. They kind of came in that. They went in that Southern Division. Them in Nashville came in last year. They made the playoffs as a first-year team with a young roster. They were very young. I mean, they had no 20-year-olds and very limited 19-year-olds, I believe. So they were 96, 97, 98 a heavy team as far as birth year goes. So obviously, again, we're still in the transitional stages here. I have some things that I need to wrap up, here and finish that need to get done, and so I'm kind of in the early stages of looking at things and talking with these guys and trying to figure out what direction that they want to go and what their vision is. And TPH is the group that owns this team is incredibly divested in hockey. They have a couple Tier 3 teams under their umbrella. They have I believe 21 AAA teams throughout the country. They have a hockey academy that's in Canton, Ohio, or Canton, Michigan. They have, they like I said, the connections with Alabama, Huntsville. The guys in TPH really deserve a ton of credit for actually saving the Alabama Huntsville program. It was about 2 or 3 years ago that the school had made a decision to drop their NCAA Division I hockey program, and several of the alumni, spearheaded by Nathan Bowen, who's the president of TPH, and Ryan McCormick, who's the vice president. These guys spearheaded a group of former players and sponsors to keep the program going, and they brought in a gentleman by the name of Mike Corbett to coach the team, and I've known Mike for many years. He was a longtime assistant at the Air Force Academy, and I worked with him a lot in the Rocky Mountain District. And Corbs and I are going to sit down and talk when I get down there and see what type of role that I would have with them. And they're divested all the way up into one of the members is the director of hockey operations for the Nashville Predators. So this organization is very well structured from top to bottom, and again, it's just a tight system and a tight network, and obviously, going back to Point Mallard, and there's going to be some adjustments, and I'm going to have to figure out what we've got for players coming back and all that fun stuff like everybody does at this time of the year. And you know, it's another challenge, and you know, again, it's of course I'm looking forward to it, and I'm also still in that, you know, it's hard to talk about another team right now, you know.
Oh yeah,
still,
yeah. Well, and
it's just it's weird. It's in that you know, that weird zone, and you know, we made the announcement. I had spoken with our group last Wednesday, and you know, Dwayne and I were talking, and he advised to wait and to do it that way, and you know, he was dead right on and saying, you know, you need to be prepared because it's going to be a little difficult come Friday and Saturday, and it really was. I mean, it was you know, the support and the kind words and the you know, the calls and the texts and the, you know, it's been overwhelming, and you know, that's why it's kind of you know, like I said, I'm still just kind of in that goofy area right now. It just really is kind of a crazy place.
yeah. Well, why don't we do this? Let's take a short break. We'll eat some of that cake, and then we'll come back and we'll talk a little bit of NHL playoffs, and then, you know, at the end we'll give you kind of a chance to say anything you want to say to anybody out there. So let's take a break.
Here are your grievances.
Well, I wasn't thinking grievances. I was thinking, you know, nice things.
Oh,
but,
I don't have any grievances, Chris.
I mean, if you want to,
I can talk about a couple people.
People put up with me. People had to deal with me. I
Well,
bet the phone lines might be ringing up.
I'll give you a chance to thank all those people at the end, but.
Perfect.
That cake is looking mighty good right now. So we'll take a break and eat some cake. We'll be right back. News Talk 1270 KIML.
An hour without politics? Yes. It's about time. Tuesday morning quarterbacks on News Talk 1270 KIML. You're listening to Tuesday Morning Quarterbacks with Don Carpenter and Chris Brennel.
News Talk 1270 KIML. And welcome back, 9:37. And I thought we were able to eat some. By the way, the cake was really good. So thank you to
Phenomenal.
Annette for getting us a cake on short notice to send off Coach Winkler in style. And I'm not gonna. We'll talk about something a little bit more cheery. I know it's kind of a bittersweet thing to move on to a different. It is a nomadic lifestyle, though. I mean, being a coach, it's almost like being a radio guy. I mean, I certainly it was tough moving 2,000 miles to do a radio job, but this was the only place that would hire me, so I really had no choice.
I know how you feel.
Well, you worked at a station. Well, I worked at a station before this, but then. I had to eat, so I had to do something.
You guys did ask me to take somebody out for you before I left. So, is this really who you are?
I love being able to go to the beach every day after my air shift, but you gotta pay your bills and eat. So that's how I'm in Gillette, Wyoming. I love it here. I mean,
it's great here.
I do love it here, even though it snowed in May.
Even though there's no beach, I still walk around in a Speedo. So still getting my tan on. You know what I'm saying?
Well, if you noticed, I actually got myself a little bit of a tan.
I noticed on the top more than your arms.
See,
not shiny.
Going on vacation in a couple weeks, and I didn't want to sit in an Orioles game all day in the sun in 85-degree weather with my pale Wyoming skin and get sunburned on my head. So
you really did jump in a tanning bed.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, have you ever had second-degree burns on your head?
Absolutely, that's my plan.
It's
go down there, get burned, sleep for a day, and then you're right back at it.
Oh,
exactly.
I've had blisters on my head from the sun before. First time I spent all day out when I was living in Florida, actually. I spent all day out in the sun, and I had blisters on my head. After that, I determined no more sunburn for me.
Hello, baseball hat.
Well, I could.
Or just go tanning. Or just get a tanning membership.
Hey, just go tanning.
I knew it smelled like lotion in here all the time.
Well, that's I use the lotion before I even started to do the tanning.
We do need a tanning bed here at the Basin Radio Network.
Yeah,
Wouldn't that be nice? And maybe a Bowflex.
I mean, I'm not gonna. It's not gonna be a regular thing for me. It's just I just had to do it to make sure.
So you could have the big screen watching Montel on your Bowflex, right?
Exactly. I can be doing pet
as you
flies.
eat a second piece of the M&M Kit Kat chocolate cake.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
I always snack in between sets.
Well, that's you got to keep those carbs up.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter where you get them. It can be candy.
Exactly.
As long as you burn more calories than you take in. That's that. I learned that when I was younger. I had trouble gaining weight, and I would eat 6 times a day, and I ate horribly. But I ended up going to the gym every day.
Yeah, and you built muscle that way, didn't you?
Yeah.
You know what's funny? Sugar is actually good for veins. And then this week in my blog, I'm talking about it, my fitness blog. It's actually good for getting your veins popping.
Vascular.
Yes.
Makes you
vascular growth.
Yeah. Okay. Well.
So, you don't want to eat like 5 Kit Kats, but one little Kit Kat bar will help with your vein poppage.
Well, nobody wants to hear about your veins popping.
Go to basinsradio.com for more on that on my blog this week.
See, now you're going to have to actually do a fitness blog.
Nope.
You're going to be a bodybuilder.
No, I don't. I lie to the public all the time. They're used to it.
Good point. Okay, so why don't we talk a little bit about the NHL playoffs? This has been, other than a couple really short series aside, which I guess are the Blackhawks. Are they still undefeated in the playoffs?
No, they're not they're not undefeated.
Okay, because I mean they swept. They swept the Wild, which
but they lost. They lost a couple to Nashville, I think.
Okay. So they aren't undefeated. Okay.
Anaheim's only got one loss. They wrapped up the Calgary deal last night in overtime, and I think they're 8-1 in the playoffs right now.
That is well.
And they're playing,
impressive.
They're playing some hockey. I mean that Calgary team is young and exciting and fast, and man, Anaheim just really kind of stopped them in their tracks. And really good game last night. Fun, exciting game to watch last night. But Calgary took way too many penalties, and Anaheim's power play is just gunning right now. So that's going to be that Chicago Anaheim series is going to be absolutely phenomenal. That is going to be tremendous. It's
going to be I imagine that's going to be a lot of really physical play.
Yeah, I think so. But I also think both those teams play a pretty up tempo style. So I think you're going to see. I mean, it's going to be an unbelievable transitional series, and I think that's probably whoever has the least turnovers between the Blues is going to win that series. And those teams they're so deep, and it's so hard. I cannot stand the Chicago Blackhawks. Gosh, we actually have a Chicago kid on our team, Sam Cerrone, and Sammy and I go back and forth all the time about, how useless the Cubs are. And then he turns around and says, well, how useless the Blues are. And I'm like, you're right, they are. They're useless, and they're not built for the playoffs like your team is. But the difference between the Blues and the Cubs is that at least the Blues get to the postseason. Right. They have winning records, and they get to the postseason. But either way, it's still disappointing. And I finally sent Sam an email the other night. That's like, I'm done. You got the team. I watched them, and I mean, they are just so – they say Crawford's not that good, but he's won a Stanley Cup. He knows how to win. If he falters, they've got this darling kid who has just done unbelievable. Duncan Keith is, I'm gonna find a way to get a ton of video, because every young defenseman, all they need to do is watch this guy play. I mean, he is just. Outside of Nicholas Lidstrom in the last 10 years, I don't think there's a better defenseman in the league. And I'm sure people will argue and pick maybe Subban or some of these other guys, but he is, I mean, he doesn't make bad plays, and he just understands the game in all three zones, and he knows how to play. And it's just, as a St. Louis guy, it's absolutely disgusting to watch this team. I throw up every time I watch them play, because they're just so good. They really are. And that's a hockey guy admitting that he's got to put his loyalties aside. But man, They are, for a team that was kind of muddled through the regular season. Once it's money time, they're, why do teams like St. Louis and Minnesota only go so far? Because their best players only go so far. You look at Chicago, and it's Kane. If it's not Kane, it's Taze. If it's not Taze, it's Hossa. If it's not Hossa, it's Sharp. And then you look at the D, it's Seabrook and Keith and Halmerson and Timonen. I mean, they're just, and Johnny Oduya. I mean, they're loaded. I mean, and they're built. They have the right amount of toughness with Shaw and those guys, and they're dynamic to watch, and it's horrible.
Well, it's almost
haunting.
It's almost like some of these NHL teams are starting to kind of go by the San Antonio Spurs philosophy, where make the playoffs. Once you make the playoffs, you give it all you got. You have guys that are made to win in the playoffs, and it's worked for them. Obviously, it's two different kinds of sports, and it's a lot harder to make the NHL playoffs than the NBA playoffs. But it's that philosophy where you win when it matters, as opposed to we'll just use in baseball the Yankees as an example, where they'll win 110 games and lose in the first round.
Yeah, well, and you know what? And St. Louis is analyzing that right now, because they've had tremendous regular seasons. The last 3 to 4 years, their regular seasons have been tremendous. But when you're not playing late in April and early in May, it doesn't really matter. And you look at a team like Chicago. I mean, they. If they realize that it's better to sit Kane a game or two, in the middle of the season to keep him fresh, they're going to do it. They have Scotty Bowman working with them in their front office, which, the most genius move they made was when Kane broke his collarbone, and they basically shelved him. They put him on long-term IR, and by putting him on long-term IR, they cleared up enough salary cap room to get Antoine Vermette from Phoenix at the trade deadline, who's one of the top face-off guys in the playoffs right now. Yet Kane was eligible to come back for the playoffs because of this move. So now they picked up a guy that they desperately needed from a face-off percentage offensively and defensively, and now they've got him back healthy. I mean, it's just it's unbelievable. And it's, they didn't break any rules. There's nothing wrong with what they did. They used the rule for the way it's intended. If somebody's going to miss, I think it's more than 15 games, you're able to put them on the long-term IR, and it doesn't count against you. And I think he ended up missing like 22 or 25 games, but yet he's ready to go for the playoffs, and they're not in salary cap issues right now. So,
and fresh legs after 80 games and then the playoffs. I mean, the fresh legs mean a lot this time of year.
Exactly, and just by managing your players, because recovery time in the playoffs is less. And these guys, if you're not, I mean, even somebody who knows the sport, I mean, the wear and tear and the battle that these guys go on to, I mean, it's 4 weeks after the season's over before these guys start to feel halfway decent if they go on a long playoff run. I mean, you watch these games, I mean, it is just physically, you watch the Tampa-Montreal series and the Rangers and Caps. I mean, those teams are just, they're beating the snot out of each other. I mean, it is hard-nosed, physical, mean, shots here, shots there, after the play, after the whistle. I mean, it is just going hard to the net, bodies flying everywhere. I mean, it's, these guys are playing with that passion that it's going to take to win this thing, and it really does take a toll. So, again, if you have somebody that maybe played 60 regular season games at this point as opposed to 82, he's going to be a lot fresher and have a better jump.
Now, as a Blues fan, I have a quick question. As a Blues fan, you probably follow the Blues more than me or Don would. So, with the NFL and, say, football, there's always that mentality coaching-wise of what they'll do is they'll practice really hard. They'll dial it back, 3 or 4 weeks before the playoffs start. Is there anything you've heard about the Blues to where maybe they don't dial it back practice-wise, or maybe they dial it back too much? Or is there anything you've heard about that particular thing? Because I know that's something that goes on in all sports. Is, hey, when do we dial it back, or do we stay,
no,
balls to the wall?
Actually, I do have some insider stuff with that, and I don't think it's that, because they did rest guys towards the end, and they did have some guys that had some injuries that they didn't rush back into the lineup and this and that. But I think that the biggest thing with St. Louis is just, it seems to be that there was a lot of disconnect between what guys' roles were going into postseason, which you hear that and it's like, well, you know what? It's really not that hard what your role is, because you've got, if you're an Alexander Steen, you got to score goals. If you're an Oshie, you got to score goals. If you're a Bacchus, you got to kill penalties and score goals. And they didn't do that, but, they also paid $7 million a year for Paul Stastny, and they got him playing on a third line, in a second power play unit. Well, you know what? He's a point guy. I mean, is he a, he's not he's a goal scorer, but I wouldn't call him a guy that's a Steven Stamkos type goal scorer or an Ovechkin type goal scorer. He's a 25 goal a year guy, which is great in the NHL, and but he's more of a setup guy. So you need to get a guy like that with Steen and Oshie and players like that who are in my opinion, those guys are elite finishers in the NHL. But then again, I say that, but Oshie had 15 or 16 goals this year. I mean, that's way off what he needs to be doing for that team to be successful. So, I don't know. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what happens there, because they've got a lot of cap issues because of guys that are, Tarasenko, who's probably the best young talent in the league. I mean, his entry level deal's over, so he's going to go from making $800,000 a year to $6 million a year. So I mean, that's gonna cause some problems. So there's probably going to be a whole different look in that team next year.
Well, hey, at least the Cardinals are in first place.
And I'm supposed to be surprised. I mean, that's,
yeah, that is true. You see, we
can be baseball snobs.
Royals Cardinals World Series. That's one.
I'm telling you, it's a complete different attitude. When you talk about the Rams or the Blues, it's this defeatist attitude. Oh, they're going to lose again.
Exactly right.
And then the Cardinals, we expect them to win.
Yeah.
Which they usually do.
Tell you what, the Cardinals may dress a couple of the Blues if they have to play the Royals in a.
Oh yeah.
Just to be ready for those bench clears.
Might be a brawl. Well, get a couple goons on the team.
Hey, that would be a fun one to watch. I think it's probably going to be a lot more fun than the Orioles and Rays game I'm going to see at the end of the month. Two fourth and fifth place teams by that time.
We are getting to the middle of May, so there should be some teams mathematically out of it already by now.
Well, let's take a look. The Rockies.
Miami.
The Rockies.
No, actually,
I used to beat up Chad on that. He's like, "Oh, the Rockies." I'm like, you spent all this time talking about Colorado's adult softball team. I mean, why don't you focus on
Miami has 15 wins.
Oh my gosh.
Miami's in second place.
On that division.
Didn't they spend a ton of money?
Well, it's good. No, they're in third place. They're the Mets. It's the Mets, the Nationals, and then Miami.
There's a pretender. The Mets are a pretender.
The Marlins are only 1.5 games. No, 5.5 games. They're 5.5 games out of first, which doesn't sound like a lot, but that division. I mean, they
play so many games.
Yeah,
they're better than the Phillies anyway. Okay, we only have about a minute left, but I just wanted to give you a chance. I mean, is any final words before you ride off into the sunset off to Alabama?
Well, you know what? Obviously, thank you guys. I mean, you guys did a ton for us. I mean, allowing me time to come in and speak with you guys on a weekly basis and promoting us. And you know what? It's just like I said before. It's such a wonderful. It's not only a wonderful community. I mean, our daughter flourished here and had such great times and did so many great things, and we met so many wonderful people. And it's a hockey town. I mean, Gillette is a hockey town, and the way they support this team, and you're nothing without the people that support you. And I'm so appreciative for the time here, and it was an honor to be a part of it. It was an honor to coach these kids. We had so many great kids over the time here, and so many wonderful kids and sponsors and fans and billets and our training staff. I mean, the rink staff. I'm sure I'm probably forgetting so many people, but it was just it was a wonderful era. I really am. I'm proud and I'm humbled with what we've done, and obviously it's always this town is always gonna hold a very special place in with our family. And I'm not big in saying goodbye to people because I paths always cross, and it was just, like I said, it was just a privilege and honor and a wonderful experience in our family's history. And, just thank everybody. It was just a wonderful time. And again, I can't stress it enough how great the experience was. And obviously, you know what, it was a lot of fun coming in with you guys too.
Well,
I looked forward to it because you never knew what was going to happen. And, and I kind of agree with you guys. I wish we had outtakes and tapes of what we talked about before we went on the air. That might be good for serious radio.
Well, exactly. I'm one of these days I'm going to put all this stuff together, and the off-air stuff I won't be able to get. But I mean, look, it's always been fun having you here, and of course, anytime you're in town, just stop by.
Absolutely. I may call in just to bother you sometime.
Well,
too.
do that. You can have a fan club, a Western fan club for the Point Mallard Ducks.
Southeast on.
Well, we're in the West. You'd be in the Southeast.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah. You're right.
Okay, we better get out of here. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks a lot, Coach.
Thank you, guys.
Stay tuned for Rush.
The #1 talk show in Northeast Wyoming. Don Carpenter on News Talk 1270 KIML.
From New York City, I'm Todd Starnes with this Fox News and commentary next.
Before Gillette, New York was a fashion line, it was one woman's dream. And when her company grew and needed space in the heart of Manhattan, Regis made it happen for a fraction of the cost. With beautifully furnished offices and administrative support staff, Regis gave Gillette the professional image she wanted and the place to make her life's work a reality. So when you're ready to start your business or take your business to the next level, Regis is there. Regis, the new way to work. Call 1-800-OFFICES now.
2 more police officers were assassinated over the weekend, gunned down by savages during a routine traffic stop in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. You probably did not know about Officer Benjamin Dean or Officer LaCorey Tate. That's because their murders did not generate breaking news coverage. If you read the New York Times today, you will not find their photographs on the front page. The story about 2 courageous crime fighters was relegated to page 12. As of the broadcasting of this commentary, the White House has not commented.